Encrochat. People say that it's the gift that keeps giving, but a lot of these cases are backdated since French police hacked Encrochat in 2020. 3 men have been jailed for their involvement in what police said was a multi-million-pound operation to produce amphetamines. These are drugs that can be man-made using a lot of precursor chemicals, and they rented units around the country and were also providing gangs up and down the country and even in Scotland and Wales. They were based in Merseyside, the police said, and the police used the messages intercepted from Encrochat to convict them in court. The police said they was also involved in selling other drugs as well, and the judge at Liverpool Crown Court said that the gang's leaders were characterised by a rock-solid commitment to producing the illegal drugs and trading them across Britain. The prosecution told the court that the gang had a production operation that was initially discovered from Encrochat messages. The NCA learned that the laboratory was on the outskirts of Chester, and Merseyside Police and North Wales Police worked together in order to be able to locate it. North Wales Police created an operation called Blue Sword, and they focused on Wood Cottage in Deeside Lane and found it was used to produce the amphetamines. It was on a multi-million-pound scale and on occasions could produce or attempt to produce Class B drugs. On the 1st of May, some of the defendants were undoubtedly paranoid that the police had detected this and identified that their presence was in North Wales. At this point, there was a lot of surveillance on them, the police have said in court, and the factory was then abruptly closed down and they moved it to a storage unit in Aintree. This is where they kept all the precursor chemicals in order to make the drugs as well. And messages over the Encrochat network showed that they transferred a large amount of drugs, cannabis, ketamine, cocaine, and also MCAT. Encrochat messages also revealed sales for 71 litres of amphetamine oil and 780 kilos of amphetamine sulfite paste. The prosecution said it was a full-service business operating in England and Wales and even Scotland. Anthony Saunderson, Paul Mount and Darren Owens were the gang leaders, they said, and the judge in court said that Saunderson was a particularly important player. He used the Encrochat handle based on Breaking Bad character Jesse Pinkman and also Sopranos actor James Gandolfini, rest in peace. And the judge said this was a big insight into how he saw himself. And this also contributed to the sentence that they received. Anthony Saunderson, 42 years old, was jailed for 35 years after being convicted of conspiracy to produce Class A and Class B amphetamine. Paul Mount, 38 years old, from Walsall, was jailed for 34 years after being convicted of trying to produce Class A and B drugs as well. Darren Owens, 48, from Highton, was jailed for 24 years after being convicted for supplying Class A drugs and B. And several other men that were supplying the drugs were jailed for between 5 and 10 years. Merseyside Police Detective Paul McVeigh said after the sentencing, thanks to the investigation for both forces, 9 men have now been sentenced for 187 years for the offences. Each of them that was sentenced took part in the business and made significant gains, and although they was in different roles, they were involved in different degrees and were all aware of the scale of the operation. And this story again shows how the prosecution will try to make the case as big as possible, and with Encrochat messages, this was really easy to do. The photographs that were shown in court were very damning, and things like character as well goes a long way for your sentencing. And in relation to Anthony Saunderson, who they said was one of the leading members of this gang, he's no stranger to the police. He was one of the most wanted people in Merseyside back in 2013 when he was part of a plot to import £19 million worth of drugs from Argentina in a corned beef importation. Anthony was 35 when he fled Liverpool back in 2013 after he realised police knew that he was involved in the 400 kilo high purity cocaine importation. His co-defendants had paid up to £3.2 million and they expected to make back £19.5 million. The NCA discovered the conspiracy and replaced the bricks of cocaine with house bricks in a similar wrapping. Saunderson was arrested by police in May 2014 and he was given a 10-year sentence for his involvement in the case. He even tried to appeal his sentence as well, and this was dismissed in court. Other men that was involved in the importation was Ian Stanton, Anthony Short, Francis Oakwood, James Mossman and also Gary Keating, and they were jailed at Liverpool Crown Court back in 2014. So this goes to show the lifetime of crime that he's been involved in as well, and also how hard it is to sometimes walk away after you've been involved for so long. So really appreciate you joining me for this episode. I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Please don't forget to check out the Encrochat playlist that is available on the channel, and also follow online as well at Scarcity Studios on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Facebook.
you.